Hey, everybody, and welcome to our evolving conversation that is about regeneration in the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes bioregion, maybe the Western Great Lakes. I'm in Milwaukee, and we've got a couple new folks joining us today, and I wanted to share, I shared a link in the chat to the Google Drive doc that we started keeping a few weeks ago, a few meetings ago, and it's an evolving, emerging thing. And I created a new tab where I put a couple links, and I'll talk about those, but you can explore them yourself, and you can add, edit. I'm being, giving the opportunity to co-create an agenda and just holding this container for us to have these conversations about what we're doing. And we should probably start with some introductions and quick round, and then I have a couple of items on that Google Doc that I was thinking about, and you probably have something you want to chat about today too. So I'm Karen. I'm in Milwaukee. I am consider myself a permaculture storyteller now, and I have been doing some organizing around Regenerate MKE. And we've got a film series, we're doing a bunch of stuff, and I'm a member of the Design School for Regenerating Earth, and that's how I know a couple of you here. So I'm going to pass it on to Danielle.
Hello, hello. I'm Danielle. I'm in DeKalb, Illinois, and yeah, joined the design school last April, I think. In fact, I might have to renew my membership right now, but yeah, and met with Tiffany and Karen and started talking about the work they were doing in Milwaukee. And I am looking at regenerative practices. My passion is in adult development and leadership development. Yeah, but working to try and weave in some of the DeKalb, Chicagoland area regenerative projects into this Midwest bioregion work and the great work that Karen and Tiffany and people in Milwaukee are already kind of anchoring, looking to weave in there. So yeah, thanks.
All right, I'll check in. Let's see. So I've only been to Milwaukee twice, but they were notable times. And I lived in Madison for a year. Went to UW-Madison for anthropology, my first undergraduate year, which was a little bit much because the classes were like hundreds of people, and the teacher was like this little speck on the stage. But I did pretty good. Anyway, I'm in Michigan, Southwest Michigan. And 2011, I became a land steward of a property in Bangor. And since then, I have expanded my land ownership, because that's the game that we play in this human realm, is that people can own the earth, which is kind of a cockamamie idea. But I've had the opportunity to play that game. And now I'm like well, the whole time really, it's been challenging in numerous ways. I offer affordable, sustainable housing and any number of arrangements, everything from woofing, work trade arrangement, probably people know the Woof Network, to just a formal lease arrangement, but with food and medicine on the property, on the ground when you arrive. This is the community homesteading thing that I've been doing since 2011, which is pretty much the dominant hat. I have a background as a chef and food producer, value-added food producer, and I worked in television for a while as well. So everybody's got a number of tricks up their sleeves, hats in their closet, whatever. Those are some of mine. But really the emphasis right now has been on trying to find a way to collectively manage property. And I am in dialogue with a national group called the Farmers Land Trust. And they have this specific model called the Farmland Commons that they've been working with. And I met them at a biodynamic conference in Colorado a little over a year ago. So I've been in dialogue with them about getting the deed into the commons, because I really think that's kind of, unless that's there, everything else is compromised. It's just try as I will and try as the people living on my properties. It just falls back into this kind of like, you're the landowner and I'm not the landowner kind of. It's really hard to remove that energetically and otherwise from the scenario. So struggling to find the right fit for what makes sense to do that, to collectively manage property in a way that makes sense culturally, financially, socially, etc. And to really do the work, I think, is the thing. And I didn't grow up in a rural setting, so I've been learning the whole time as well. Everything from livestock to pruning and all that. And I'm sure many of us are in that boat of just kind of reskilling, like these lost arts, like the medicine that's popping up through the cracks. These, every once in a while I'll just study one plant for a few months and just be blown away. Like amaranth, just amaranth alone is just mind-blowing plant that is generally just considered a weed by farmers, a pest. So just kind of an ongoing process of trying to collectively manage property and do it in a way where I'm actually enjoying it. And right now, I would say that I feel like I'm kind of back at a restarting point. So I'm trying to figure out what I've done in a way that I want to replicate and what I want to do in a new way. And so it's kind of at another pivotal time for me. And the name of that is Earth and Heart. There's a website, earthandheart.com. And right now it's an LLC, for lack of anything better. A better business structure would be good, a nonprofit or one of these land trusts, I think would be a preferable thing, but I haven't gotten there yet. The Color of Amaranth is a book, Karen?
Oh, I just got excited when you talked about amaranth because
Oh,
of
just the color.
the magentas and gold, the
Yeah.
paint colors of the ornamental
Yeah. Well, they're all edible. The gold is probably the best seed out of all of them, I would say. The
and
gold.
and they're
But they're tiny. It's very hard to
sharp.
garble is the right word for that, like to separate the unwanted uh, plant matter from the stuff you want. Apparently, that's garble. Sounds like an old like pagan European kind of word. I don't know, but to garble is separating, winnowing. That removing all the stuff that you don't want. So with amaranth, the seed is just so tiny. I had these woofers out for months, and they were just obsessed with it. And I think all they got was one little jar. I'm like, okay. They wouldn't stop with the amaranth. They really wanted to figure out how to do it. But we did devise better ways to separate the seed. But yeah, so it's a little bit about me and Bria. That is over to you. You sound like you got a dog and you got conversations going, but I'll hand it over to you.
Sorry. I have my husband is also here with me. So we were kind of talking and he'd asked what a woofer was. And I had just learned that term from you. So working for trade.
Yeah, it's an acronym. The WOOF Network is Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. So we'd be WOOF USA, but it's a global. I would love. It's a global I guess it's an organization, but it's a portal, a website with just partners, hosts with visitors, with guests, and it's generally work trade. It can lead to anything. It could lead to a seasonal work opportunity. It's really up to the host to determine what the terms are. It's kind of based on an ancient thing of like, we need help and somebody needs food and a place to stay, and they can save up money. And a lot of times people will find other work in the area at a nearby farm or something, or, there's opportunities like where I'm at. Like I got so many opportunities. If somebody really wanted to run with it, you could try, going to a market or starting a farm stand or whatever. So there's potential for making income also, but the baseline is I think something like 4 to 6 hours. I don't remember what it is anymore, but it's like not full-time work. It's like a couple hours a day kind of thing in exchange for a place to stay and meals. So yeah, it's you could look it up. Oh, you got it there, WoofNet. Yeah,
Yeah. And Danielle.
there you go.
So
Yeah,
awesome.
it really helped me out for quite a few years. It helped me keep the momentum going. Having people that were really inspired and maybe not the most skilled, but like really energetic people coming. I had people from Siberia, from the UK, Australia, like all over the world coming and just kind of hanging out for a few weeks or months.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
That's cool. Oh, now I'm supposed to talk. Oh, I don't want to.
Your turn.
I'm,
You don't have to.
yeah, I don't know. I'm just kind of blown away already from what I've already heard everybody. So
What brings you here today?
Danielle, Danielle brought me here today. She and I got back in touch after, I don't know, some time apart, and as she always says, synchronicity. And she just came over and we talked, and she said, "You have to meet these people." And I said, "Okay." And now I'm here. So we're kind of trying to do that on a smaller scale. You know, I don't know what's out there. I didn't know that, any of you guys existed, and I'm just really thankful you do. I think it's pretty wonderful, and I want to know how to do that. So I'm just here to learn and hopefully grow and and take part in something that sounds awesome. So I'm good. I don't know how to take me off the screen. I didn't know you guys could like see me talking to people. I don't know. I'm new to all of this.
And
Maria's being very modest right now. And the reason I invited her was when I went and started talking and learning about her life, she and her family live on this acre of land where they're regenerative farming right now. And she was telling me about the different crops that she was trying and what they were doing with the land with repurposed items and how they were envisioning things. And there's chickens, and we were feeding chickens and squirrels, and so she's doing the thing right now, which is why I brought her to this space to kind of say, "Hey, connect into this network. You'll learn some things. You'll do some things." And
Yay! I want to learn some things and do some things. So cool. Thanks.
does your husband want to say anything or just be with you?
He's supposed to be at work today. He's not feeling well, so he stayed home. But he is a genius. He is like a mad scientist, and I don't know. He just comes up with all these brilliant plans to make life easier on me, and just kind of do what we want to do and just be like as disconnected from capitalism as possible, I guess. While still having to, live here. So, but he's the mastermind behind most of it. I'm just kind of the dreamer that's like, can we? And he's like, I'll figure out how.
You're the
So we work as a pretty good team.
So all three of you live in the Milwaukee area, is that correct?
Yeah, ish. Rockford.
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 Oh,
Yeah.
let me drop the link to the map. If you want to create a pin for yourself in a map, um,
Oh,
I will open up. Okay,
good.
you're looking on a phone, so maybe that's,
Are
yeah,
you able to click on links on your from the Zoom, Bria?
I'm gonna see. I shall see.
Otherwise, I sent the other one to your signal too.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
so here, I'll drop this link in first. If you click on this link, it'll open up a map, a world map that has um, pins for Julian is in there and I'm in there. I don't know if Danielle is in there. And now I'm going to drop a link for the form to add your location so that we start to create a way of finding each other in physical space. And so I can see when I look at the map, Julian is just across the lake over in South Haven, and I don't is Danielle on the map yet? Okay,
I submitted the form, but just at the beginning of this meeting, I don't know how long it takes to populate on there.
I can refresh the map. So let me go there. If Bria, are you going to add a pin?
I am attempting. Um, I have to. I'm working.
Well, I'll refresh it after this meeting, and you'll be able to see um, the new data in there. And I Julian and I have been on this email chat link, which I'm like, oh, can we put this email chain into a place elsewhere? So I'm evoking it here to talk about planning events because I have some walks and paddles, different events that are happening on the Milwaukee River this summer. I'm hosting some walks and talks in parks, and October 18th and 19th, I've already put it out into the universe that I'm hosting a design immersion in Milwaukee, and people have already like, I'll be there, Karen. I'm like buying my ticket, or they're threatening me with actually coming. Thing that I said I was going to plan, and so that's a big theme for me is getting that ready, and I'm trying to pull people into that doing that with me. And also, I want to do fun things with all of you. And Julian had mentioned something about maybe like a music festival at his eh, stewarding area property space in South Haven, and I want to bring my musical instruments. I'm bringing my friend Kelly who plays piano, and we're gonna, do sambas about singing love songs to fish or something. It
Hmm.
can be anything it wants to be. Anyway, so I wanted to talk about kind of what we might want to be doing along those lines and just throw out some dates because I've already like penciled in July 25th because it was a date that Julian had mentioned. And um, if there's other ways that we can kind of support each other on that journey, because I know Kathy Sipple, who sometimes comes to these conversations, she's on that email that Julian and others have started. And she brought up a good point a meeting or two ago about how, we're kind of pulling apart in all these different directions, or the people who live in, the person who lives in La Crosse, um, how bioregionally, literally being part of the upper Mississippi water, drainage region rather than draining into the Great Lakes. But I just got off of Brandon Letzinger's second conversation about bioregional organizing. And when he posted an image of the bioregion of the Great Lakes, and which is, kind of the map behind me, if you can see my image on the screen, I've got Lake Superior to Lake Erie, or Lake Ontario, behind me. But really, culturally, the Great Lakes bioregion does go into, Minnesota, and is more inclusive of what I think of as kind of the upper Midwest, not necessarily into like Missouri, but because there is a different cultural thing in terms of what one of the maps that was sort of a more like an anthropological depiction of how the Front Range in Colorado, the Cascadia, um, kind of the eastern seaboard, there are certain bioregions in what we call, North America that have a coherence that go back, 1,000 years in terms of indigenous cultures that have been trading and language groups and things like that. So I'm saying a lot of things that to try to pull together other threads of conversations that I wanted to presence here today.
Have you seen that map that I just sent? It's really
Yes, I can see them.
a different type of map, right? Like, and how Lake Michigan doesn't even get its own.
Yeah, we're really Huron, Michigan and Huron they're so connected that they're at the
Here
same.
they appear as one body.
Yeah.
Lake Michigan looks like it goes a little deeper, but it's such a different perspective, this map, right?
Yeah.
The events thing, just to chime in on that, Karen. I've got an event on July 10th that's like a private event, although I will share the organization that I'm going to be working with, because as long as we think we're going to set a limit to 30 people. It's a Gender Equity Reconciliation International, aka Jerry, that has been doing gender equity work, which is basically building off of the work of well, it's modeled off of Desmond Tutu's Truth and Reconciliation work, but geared towards trauma and gender-related programming issues that most of us suffer from. So it's basically like a healing circle. It's kind of a spiritual healing environment where people are asked to go into kind of deep work, deep personal work, healing work. So anyway, that's going on the 10th. That's going to include holotropic breath work. And they've been doing this work for over 30 years in India and Africa mostly, but I'm fortunate to be hosting them. On that same weekend nearby, unfortunately, I found out afterwards, they're hosting a permaculture convergence, I think it's called, in Bloomingdale. Did you hear about that one last year in Bloomingdale, Karen?
I'm sorry. I was distracted. I was trying to copy in the link, and then I realized everybody else is copying links, and I'm deliciously copying. So I
Yeah.
tried to
I
capture.
copied all the links from the chat into the document.
Thank you. I was like,
So that event's July 10th, and then that same weekend, which would be July 11 through 13, I think, like 15 minutes from here, there's a permaculture convergence at a pretty cool place called Heart Springs. So that is going to be a nice event that I will not be able to attend. They asked me to participate, but I was already booked for that. And then the 25th is scheduled to be it's a we all use the Gregorian calendar. We lost the Pope this morning. You probably heard. But the Gregorian calendar is what is the dominant calendar we use right now. But July 25th is the new year under another calendar, which is we can call it the Galactic Mayan calendar. It's based on ancient technology of the Mayan timekeepers. So that celebration is already. I did it last year, and I plan to have that be at least part of it. Doesn't need to be like the whole thing necessarily, but that's going to be part of that weekend celebration on the 25th of July. So I've got something at my orchard property July 10th and July 25th. Um, and kind of like you were saying, Karen, with your event in October, I'm kind of like everything's kind of moving. I've made commitments to those weekends. So I'm kind of like trying not to overextend and do too many things and really kind of focus on those particular time coordinates.
I
And the 25th could easily be, um, integrated. It's a Mayan New Year, so that doesn't necessarily mean it couldn't also be the some type of gathering for us as well. But
I I'm open to all possibilities. I just saw the couple of dates that came across on those emails and was wanted to latch on and see if I could start to if we could start to emerge a Western Great Lakes calendar of cool things that may be tangentially related or you know, uh, involve some of our closer friends in our bioregion, and we want to amplify work that is aligned with. For me, I've been when I started calling myself a permacultured storyteller, this new identity that I'm trying out, it's because I like how the permaculture ethics concisely give a framework for which stories are worth retelling, which stories are worth reproducing into, as a cultural, as a performance of a song or a story, telling a story. I'm I'm constructing a reality and a vision for future possibilities in the language that I choose, and so I'm carrying that kind of thing around with me and sort of testing my partnerships because I wanted to be able to say, how am I saying that this organization that I'm partnering with, or the Riverkeep, the Milwaukee Riverkeep organization, is someone that I trust as a partner, and I'm going to vouch for them in terms of saying I think their programming is worth my time, and I'd be willing to put it on my newsletter to tell other people to do. And for me, what it's coming down to is, can you say that? Can you tell me a story of how in any way you align with one of the permaculture principles, like produce no waste, or working with margins, or, like valuing diversity. If you can't articulate any of them, I don't know what I can do to help you. And that's been an organizing schema for me, and part of what I'm using to talk about in these conversations I'm having in the next few weeks. I'm doing a poster session at the Milwaukee or the Midwest Climate Summit. And I'm trying to still thinking about what language I want in images and stuff that I want to use, but I'm getting much closer to how to talk about this because I want to be sticky. I want to find people like Bria and Julian and Danielle who are all over, who are like, Gee, I wish people were talking on the scale that I'm thinking, and just be sticky and help people find their way into, if not, the design school, then something else that makes sense for them in terms of, maybe they'll see Julian's website and that makes a lot of sense for them as an inroad to newer vistas for possibilities.
Nice. I just shared this link. That's not an event at my place, but it's probably the closest thing to an event that I would like to plan, and it's already happening. So you may want to just attend this. I won't, that's the one that I won't be able to attend because I'm hosting this other event. They did it last year. It looks like a really nice event and cool guy right down the road from me.
Uh, I,
So I was going to offer to hold that work of maintaining a calendar, if you'd like.
Hmm.
Um, if we, I don't know if we have Regen Midwest, like, is that what we are anymore? Or are we doing Regen Great Lakes West or whatever we decide? Like, if we I'd be happy to create a Gmail account for that, whatever we choose. Um, and then that would have a calendar with it. And I could be taking the events that we talk about in the meetings, adding them there. And then Karen, you could just email me because you're out there more kind of seeing them. And if I'd be happy to do the work of putting them in the calendar is if as you're finding things, you're just sending the email to me.
It's an interesting piece, the bioregional discussion, like the mapping. For example, this event right here is probably what, 4 hours from you guys or something. It's not close. And it sounds like I feel like I feel personally out of balance a lot lately. Um, to be candid about just being able to give everything that I want to give attention to give it the proper attention. Um, Nurturing all the relationships that I want to nurture, tending all the things on the acres that need it, et cetera, et cetera. Just like, you know, on that level, I've been experiencing a fair amount of overwhelm, and it's my life, it's what I've chosen, so it's not anyone else's problem per se or challenge. But in terms of these like bioregional circles, like there's the Great Lakes is huge, right? Like massive. Even Lake Michigan is huge. So like when we're doing this, Danielle, and thank you for stepping up to that offering. It's an important role to fill. Like just I think we should be really conscious about how we for lack of a better word, how we map it, So like for me, South Haven, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids is about all I can really deal with on a regular basis. I don't know what your radius is, but if I'm going to come all the way to your area, it'd probably be like it might be once or twice a year. Chicago's a little closer. Might be a good middle ground for us. We were talking about Gary and Chicago as kind of a middle ground. So that alone is a huge discussion. Like, how do we organize hyper locally, regionally, bioregionally, globally, and those concentric maps of attention and what needs the most attention is what's right in our backyard, right? And so one of the things that's challenging for me is to participate in these calls in a consistent way where people recognize me, where I have a voice that's, familiar and where I'm nurturing my relationships in this world, but not neglecting what's happening in my own property. So I just want to, I don't have any solutions per se, but I think as we're mapping this out and coming up with ideas for how to network more powerfully, that's just a huge ongoing concern for me personally. I assume it is for other people as well. So yeah, the little hashtag acronyms and all that are helpful for that, I feel like. Um, Great Lakes West or Great Lake Michigan or, you know.
Yeah, I started the GLMWS, Great Lake Michigan Western Shore acronym, using the naming convention used by someone else in the design school, the Great Lake Erie Southern Shore, that is further along than we are in terms of organizing identity bioregionally in in something that's coherent to me from kind of a design school way of thinking about it. And I know that's not the only way of thinking about it, but
Mhm.
that's been my entry point for it. And as some of you may know, in an hour and a half, there is the Great Lake Basin call through the design school. And I don't need to recreate the wheel and be like, we're on the Western Shore. But I am kind of thinking about how out of, there's all of this energy in the Toronto area, which is absolutely fantastic.
Is that the one, the GTB?
The
Is that
greater
where you're talking?
Toronto bioregion has been doing amazing things for a few decades. The Legacy Project, I think, started maybe 20 years ago. I mean, there's some significant history in same with Cascadia, where they've been talking. Well, really, but also in the Great Lakes in 1986, we had a bioregional conference. So it's not like, I think are there were political forces or something that made it so that that did not become ascendant in academics or in other kinds of political spheres. But I mean, the event I'm attending next week, I know there will be people there from Madison's sustainability office, the eco office for the city of Milwaukee. There's people from, all of these the DNR, all of the eco organizations that I could think of that are the friendlies to thinking bioregionally or thinking about watersheds and water quality and resisting, corporatization and privatization and wanting regulation of water, all of the things that to me are like coherent. Um, and yet I feel like exactly as Julian is saying, we could get into the weeds of about finding the right hashtag, and it would be not inclusive enough, or it would turn people into saying, oh, like, oh, well, that doesn't really describe where I am. And so I don't know that I'm advancing this conversation any further, but those were where I was trying to think about like Western, and maybe we just stick with Lake Michigan since that's a huge enough thing, but it's at least inclusive of almost everyone on the call because Rockford
Mm.
pretty much maybe this is the closest lakefront that Bria could get to in terms of the Great Lakes would probably be Lake Michigan.
And then what's the goal, I guess? So I think all of us are probably looking for increased community, like, improve our networks, of trusted resiliency kind of, community, building community. I think we wouldn't be here otherwise. For me, like, so I would love to hear like on a deeper level, like you asked Karen, I think like why are you here? Um, for me, like I've been doing this land stewardship thing and it's like I'm on the verge of like just stopping because it's like so overwhelming. I know a lot of people are looking for this type of opportunity, but I don't really have the capacity to do all the admin and do the outreach and then the management and the support and so land consolidation, like just south of this, there's somebody like some corporation that bought like thousands of acres. So I had the opportunity to step up and do this, and I'm happy to have the opportunity. But I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to hold on, honestly. Like, it's just insane to try and continue doing what I'm doing. If I paint the picture and just leave a few, give you a few details, it could sound all rosy and like, you know, it's like people's Facebook page. Everything's, you got the good news page, but then, the things that don't work out, that are unreflected upon and not healed, those things are, for me personally, really hard to just I pick up my bootstraps and continue on. Like I want to like figure out what happened and do it better. And everyone has some type of healing that they're going through. So for me, like, the migrant worker thing, for example, like they're the only ones who know how to do the work that we need to do in order to produce the amount of food that we need, and yet they're not treated very well. What I see is general respect, but in a bigger picture, they're not being. It's not a sustainable formula, and I don't see people, other people stepping up to do the work on any serious level. So it's like those kind of really big issues, like our food system this year, like our food supply, shelter for people who are like can't afford to pay rent. It's just like massive issues that are at our doorstep. And as far as I can tell, we're just in a holding pattern waiting for it to fall apart more. So for me, those are the things that I've been trying to like address, like, without any kind of nonprofit, any kind of grant money, any kind of like legitimate training. I'm just like, I jumped right into it and tried to fill a need that's like just massive. And it's like it doesn't make any sense. I can't do it myself, So for me, that's like part of it is like, I believe that this vision is something that a lot of people hold. It's, if you go to other parts of the world, where there's a big eco village with thousands of people, like at Oroville in India or something, it's pretty well established. Here it's like still cutting edge, to even like have a bunch of neighbors that all talk to each other. Like in my neighborhood, like I just finally met a neighbor a couple days ago, like, and we're friends now. Like now I feel so much better just knowing one neighbor. Like most of the neighbors in my area, they kind of keep to themselves. Even when approached, they're kind of like a little bit standoffish, So just even having a group of neighbors in a community that all talk to each other and share skills, which 100 years ago was a given, even doing that is like kind of like a stretch, which seems like it would be like obvious, but even to get there is a lot of work, So I feel like for me, a lot of it, what we're doing is it's like almost overly academic. Like I think we know what we need to do, and somehow and me included, like I'm not saying I'm any better at it than anyone else, but somehow we're like stunted, we like forgot how to do basic things like trust our neighbors and share food, and maybe you have a totally different experience. I hope so. And I kind of miss that about being in a city, is having more proximity. Now I'm pretty out in the country. So there's just a stronger need, I think, everywhere on the planet for people to start collaborating with the people right next to them. And my hope for myself anyway is that these calls and these networks that are part of a bigger network of global, regional, bioregional will like Joe was saying, to stimulate the work on the ground, in our communities. We can only do so much, connecting with each other, and that'll be real nice to do occasionally. But the bulk of the work, like, sounds like Karen, you're doing some great stuff. I'm excited to hear about that. Um, that's the bulk of what we need to be doing, right? It's like what's happening right in our yard. So it's interesting how this maps in with that. And sometimes I don't really, for myself, I don't really have a clear read on what the connection is. I'm still trying to figure it out.
You've shared so many things, and I want to make sure Danielle has an opportunity to respond here, but I wanted to call back to one of the um, ideas that resonated with me about every story has two, there's the like Facebook version of the curated version of the positive side of the story, and then the behind the scenes of how we almost missed the deadline and we did it at great sacrifice, and I didn't get paid while we had it, and I'm making it look like it's effortless, but it's not sustainable, and I can't, I don't want to be the person complaining about not getting any funding again, but at this point I'd rather get leprechaun currency than another gift card. I'm just in a place where appreciation and being compensated for the work that I feel is worth doing is not all at all aligned. And in my life, I mean, I used to be, I was talking to a friend last night and about how I used to generate enough revenue through my efforts to support my life. I could pay rent, I had a mortgage and all these things, and that those circumstances have changed, and yet I'm still doing the same kind of work. I'm just not getting compensated to do it, or I'm getting compensated less, or I'm getting a gift card for my efforts. And it's like, thank you for really making some kind of effort to show your appreciation, but really, really, like, so I'm responding to that because I feel like there are so many crises in I'm comfortable. I've got a cat in my lap. I have heat and food. And, for now, today, I'm doing great. But I have plenty of people who have been very disrupted, lost their position because of, the past few weeks, and not knowing what's going to happen with USDA funding, not knowing what's going to happen. Most of my income, I had it, I just did my taxes. I had $1,200 of USDA grant evaluation was my largest check that I received last year. And that was half of what it was a few years ago. And I don't expect I'm going to be hired as a contractor by the Department of Agriculture this season because it's already the end of April, and they haven't even posted on their website that they're going to be doing any grants. And um, so I'm hearing I'm responding to that aspect of what you were saying. And you said so many other things, but I'm going to be quiet because I want Danielle to have a chance.
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to add. I just, I don't know. I'm good, actually. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a lot. And it's all on record. Apparently you were recording, so my sort of vulnerable rant of I don't know. I think for me right now I'm trying to be candid about the things that are uh, falling apart, not working, and trying not to just replicate them for another round, like I don't need to do that. Doesn't mean everything is. It's just like there's certain things that are just not working anymore. And then to figure out how to be moving towards something, working towards something that feels like it's not part of the thing that's falling apart. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Is like, I don't want to start a bunch of energy, start directing energy towards something when that's actually part of the stuff that, like, you know what I mean? Like, to determine that on a personal energetic level as much as anything. Like, I don't I don't know what's going on in the universe, but I don't have the kind of energy I would like to have either. I'm like limited on the energy level, just on a basic level. So like really figuring out what to put our energy towards, including events, um, and including travel and I think I will summarize this book, this Malabar book. Has anyone read it? Malabar Farm. Have you ever heard of it? It's in Ohio. This guy, Louis Bromfield, created over 100 years ago a system of agriculture. I forget what he called it, but it was permanent agriculture. So before permaculture, there was something called permanent agriculture. And this guy, who was a Hollywood filmmaker, bought a bunch of land and just hired people, had huge feasts, didn't charge anybody. He spent all his money like creating this new type of agriculture where they planted on contour, and they would have they would go to people's farms and bring like hundreds of people, have an event, transform their whole farm, like just do everything on the checklist. And so when they left this person's farm, their soil wasn't going to erode. All the gullies had been resolved. They'd done some earth moving, planted on contour, got some trees in the hill. And this is over 100 years ago, in this country where private sector, along with some government interaction, did these kind of massive events, something like a barn raising that the Amish people do. But it was like just people wanted to do it. They would come because it was a weekend event, and they would eat good food and work hard. And they would go to one person's property and just do a ton of projects with skilled oversight. You need some talented, skilled oversight. And then go on to the next place. Like an amazing story of what's possible when we work in harmony with common purpose. So that kind of energy to me is really exciting. Of thinking like, okay, well, there's a lot of people who are kind of in my boat of like having land, but not very many hands on deck. And if there was a way to have a permaculture convergence, but it's also a work party, and this whole place is transformed and activated by the presence of the people who arrive, rather than simply music and fun, which is all good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm wondering if, and we are at time here, but I'm wondering if permaculture immersions, to me, there's sort of a blending in my mind and I want to call back to the concern you expressed about travel too, like having the leisure lifestyle to be able to go away from your farm or your family or the plants and animals that rely on you in your living biospace to spend a week in Barichar, Columbia, or Milwaukee or anywhere else, to have the travel money to do things like that, the wherewithal to have the time and the money to spend to go and do something that may be good for the earth, building syntropic farming or something like that. Yay. but balancing the privilege aspect of it and the carbon intensity of our present
Mhm.
travel systems. I've been fantasizing today, working on some lyrics about like a solar powered bicycle zeppelin or something that I can fly from bioregion to to from place from my event to event that maybe is solar punk or so, I don't even know the genre, but like this idea that if I could solve for that X, that would make me feel a lot more comfortable about, these ideas about flying around the planet to do things. But I'm also responding with that slow the fuck down kind of how can we do like in the conversation just before this with in the bioregional mapping class with Brandon Letzinger. I was talking about a dream that Brie Letzinger had brought up that she and I had both had about taking a paddle tour around the entire circumference of all of the Great Lakes. And someone on the call was like, "Oh my God, that would take so long to do. I don't know if I could complete it in my lifetime." And, like her brain went straight to the logistics of her individually being able to go, the entire circumference. And I responded, just think of thousands of, many, many people doing a small segment, and it's elders and children and going at the pace of ritual and ceremony, because you have a going away ritual, and when you arrive there's a welcoming ritual, and there's food, and there's a van that's going along, that if there's an EMT and people that can help out if there's some sort of emergency, and we're basically just visiting our kin up and down logically the areas closest to us. It's maybe within 15 miles or something. I mean,
Pass the baton.
yeah, you could,
Just
but
do a little stretch
it doesn't even need to be exactly, that cohort. I mean, it definitely could be like a relay race, uh,
Mhm.
not a race, slow race. But also think, someone evoked the idea of the St. James, the Caminos in Europe that connect. Um, Pilgrimage routes that go across the northern Mediterranean from what's it called? Camino Santiago in Portugal, where pilgrims in today can traverse along ancient pathways that are footpaths that connected people. And we still have footpaths that are connecting. In the map behind me, there are the footpaths that went from Milwaukee to the base of that of Fond du Lac, of that Great Lake. Like the architecture is still present in
Mm.
in in our mapping memory, even of ways that we have slowly connected with each other walking. And I know in this digital world where, we have to Instagram and spend, stay in a hotel and pay, all these things versus, the times when you could do woofing, before you have kids, before you have obligations or a mortgage or whatever it is that you feel tethered to place. And there are young people in my life right now that, I could see them engaging, they're looking for that kind of opportunity that woofing presents, but in a, maybe in a, maybe that's part of what we're building towards.
Mhm. Yeah. So Danielle, we probably did not fully embrace your offer.
Generous offer.
Um,
Embracing it. I just don't know what to call it because I'm afraid to name it something, but we could name it anything and go forward with a working model. And
I'm just going to call it Regen Midwest because that's available on
there you go.
whatever, and that's what
Is
our
that
website is. And we kind of started that, and then we can add whoever we want to it. It doesn't have to be the whole Midwest. You know what I mean? And then whoever wants to use it, we'll just start from us and add to it. And then when it's done, it's done. Okay.
Proactive. I like it.
And if you can get me a QR code or something for anything, I will put it on my poster session next week when I'm at the Midwest climate thing and make it sticky, and if there's if that is the email, I'll put regenmidwest@gmail.com or whatever. Let me know whatever it might evolve into. And if I get it by like the end of this week, I can incorporate it.
Cool. Appreciate y'all. I should go check back out at the barn, see what's going on up there.
Well, thank you so much for your time, all of you, Bria and Danielle and Julian, and
Husband genius in the back somewhere.
husband is in the back somewhere who makes the muse and the magician.
Yeah.
It's very accurate.
Cool.
It was nice meeting you all.
Nice.
I'm sorry I was quiet. I probably won't be in the future. I'll probably chime in a lot more. I'm just getting the feel.
And I'll do
So,
the opposite. I'll simmer down a little bit. I just needed an event. Thanks for.
I think it's wonderful.
Well,
Glad to be in community with you, and see you in a fortnight, and see you next time. Be well, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
bye-bye.
I'm going to stop recording.